Good evening, everybody. This this special day, this special day of Halloween. Tonight there will be a fan fiction so horrible, so disgusting that it makes Sweet Apple Massacre look like one of those random fics. And it is called Cheerilee's Garden. Alright, I'm gonna go out of character for right here. Some words in advance. It all began as a joke in a chat room. Someone said, "We should totally write this," and so I did. I realized that it's not much of an excuse for letting this loose on the world, but perhaps it'll make you judge me a bit more kindly when you get to the end of the story. Look back and wonder who would ever think of something like this. At least I will hope. I hope it will. Thanks to Cheerilee and Dash for joking around and inspiring this fanfic with your ideas. Thank you as well for all the advice, ideas, and proofreading you continued to prove as time went on. Thank you Tavi, Quilava, and Orabesh for all the proofreading you did. And thanks also to every member of the MLP Teen Control Steam group who randomly heard me talk about this and provided input. You're all helped in your own way. Okay, back to the story. Cheerilee's Garden, an extremely grimdark, read gory story by Anaheim. Unahim, whatever. The entire theater complex is abuzz with the voices of 100 excited ponies, as Cheerilee picked out carefully from behind the curtains hiding the stage. She saw rows upon rows of ponies sitting on the stands for moving between them, talking to each other as they wanted to try to make one last trip to get some food and beverages before the show. They glanced quickly to the left and saw that the musicians had already set up in the orchestra pits in front of the stage. They only be needy for a few scenes, but Cheerilee was still glad to have them. Seeing such a big crowd gathered there made her a bit nervous, even though this had all been her idea. Almost all the seats were taken, as Cheerilee knew there was barely enough to accommodate the entire population of Ponyville. The show would be subjugated to the scrutiny of a great many pony eyes indeed. She retreated back behind the curtains, everybody hoping nobody had seen her. She felt that would have been somewhat unprofessional. Something seemed to be in order as she inspected the stage for the last time. All the props and the equipment were beautifully made, straight from the hooves of the masters. Cheerilee had only needed to tell them what she wanted, and that he had provided it without any questions. Even though certain items must have seemed unnecessary, after all, they didn't know what she had in mind for this night. While she did, she was quite sure some of their props would make even a professional theater jealous. The stage was divided in sections, each denoting its supposed location. This way they needed time. They need time or backstage ponies to change the decor after each act, cutting down on the time needed for scene changes. Cheerilee was a big fan of this system, as it meant there was one less thing for her to worry about. She turned back and headed for stage left, where her students were busy getting all dressed up. It was a total chaos, of bits and pieces of costumes scattered across the room like sprinkles on a cupcake. At the center of this mess were the Cutie Mark Crusaders. As Cheerilee has come to expect, the fact none of them has sprouted a making trouble Cutie Mark yet surprised her more each and every day. "Hey, that's my helmet," Scootaloo told Sweetie Belle accusingly. "Yours is way over there." No, it sure. No, it sure isn't, she replied as she lifted a knightly helmet off of her head and held it out for Scootaloo to inspect. This one has a hole for my horn, see? Y'all sure ain't my helmet, Applebloom said as she scratched her head. The king wears the crown, the other two snapped back. Cheerilee sighed as she quickly glanced at her other students. Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara seemed to progress orderly, if slowly, mainly due to how they constantly flourished and admired each other after every article of clothing they put on. And after every single brush of their manes, Snips was, to her great surprise, ready and waiting. The fact that Snails was backstage on tech duty might have something to do with that, she mused. She remained confident that they'd make it in time, and she had the great foresight to start them all in preparations much earlier than any pony would have thought necessary. She had come to know this little group throughout the months, and she was prepared for almost anything. Nothing could possibly go wrong today. She had too much planning and work into it to see it fail now. She smiled as she envisioned the peace, quiet, tranquility, and relief she'd feel when this is all over. Alright, students, she chimed. Let me just run through the steps one last time. There was much groaning to be heard across the room, but Cheerilee wasn't taking any chances with this bunch. If you still have a part to play, you aren't needed on set, come back here. If your role is all played out, exit the stage on the other side. You'll be able to watch the rest of the play from there. That is if you didn't see enough already. She paused for a moment to ascertain every pony who was still listening, and they all nodded. If you forget your lines, just improvise or pick up from the point in the script you do recall. If the pony you're playing with skips some of your lines, don't try to correct them. Remember, we may notice if some pony doesn't follow the script, but the audience won't as long as you keep the dialogue flowing. The fillies and Snips nodded again, and Cheerilee smiled at them. Good. Now get ready. I have to see to the opening of the show, so be ready and on set in no more than 10 minutes. She walked away as the young ponies got back to it, and Cheerilee thought they seemed to quarrel and delay slightly less this time, though that was probably just her imagination. The last one she had to check up on was Snails, whom she put backstage due to his absolute inability to do even the most basic of acting. All he had to do there was listen for certain cues and then carry out one specific action. She had even written all that down on the list that was easy enough to follow, even for him. Up to this point, he'd done okay during their practices, but you never know. She gave him a few reminders, and he assured her that he wouldn't let her down, all the while wearing that idiot grin of his. Cheerilee sighed as she went back to the main stage, resigned to the fact that she have to leave this one up to fate. She's pleased to see the other ponies already gathered in position when she got there, all of them sitting around a U-shaped table. The open end, which was pointed in the direction of the crowd. Applebloom was dressed up as someone of royal descent, a shiny crown on her head and a regal mantle flowing down from her shoulders. To her right were the remaining two Cutie-Mark Crusaders, both dressed in exaggerated versions of knightly armor. Sweetie Belle was colored as white as her own coat, while Scootaloo is a bright red. Considering this glaring difference in color, Cheerilee wondered how they could possibly mistake each other's helmet for their own anyway. They looked heroic and chivalrous compared to the two ponies on the other side of the table, which was exactly the idea. Silver Spoon's costume was pitch black, while Diamond Tiara's was a deep purple. The style of their costumes was likewise different from the two knights. They both wore something more akin to the courtier's dress, or a diplomat's gown than a warrior's armor. Mean looks were being exchanged all over the table, and Cheerilee couldn't decide if they were genuinely trying to get into character, or if the natural animosity of the CMC towards the other two fillies was at work here. The only acting pony who wasn't on set yet was Snips, but then again he wasn't even on the next scene. Cheerilee walked over to the left side of the stage and held the curtain aside for herself. The leader of the orchestra immediately spotted her as she emerged next to him, and raised an eyebrow questioningly. She nodded at him, and he nodded back, turning his attention towards the musicians, most of whom were friends of the family of the Octas. Cheerilee slipped back behind the curtains, and she heard the first soft notes float through the air. By the time she was back in the center of the stage, the music has increased in volume and could be heard all throughout the theater. The conversation slowly dying down as every pony took their seats. Cheerilee looked up to see Snails, thankfully in the right spot, between the stage light, waving at her sheepishly. The ushers took their cue from the music, and slowly the lights in the theater hall died down. The pace of the music increased, and the feeling of anticipation intensified, until suddenly the curtain slid open a few feet, accompanied by the rolling of drums. She stepped forward past the curtains as Snails turned on a spotlight and aimed it at her, bathing her in a circle of light as she moved. Despite the curtains being partially open to darkness, behind Cheerilee revealed nothing to the audience. The music stopped and Cheerilee's voice took over, ringing out crystal clear throughout the enormous room to the perfect acoustics. Fillies and Gentlecolts, it is with great pride that my students and I welcome you to our very own play. They have all worked so hard on this over the past few months, and we hope you will enjoy it much as we enjoy bringing it to you. Of one thing I am certain, this will be an evening you won't soon forget. Cheerilee smiled, wildly despite herself. It was just the kind of opening she thought every pony would expect, but she was certain the last part would turn out to be true in more ways than one. And now, without further ado, I am proud to introduce, performing in Ponyville for the first time ever, Reginald the Sly. The music exploded again during her last words as she disappeared behind the curtains, following them to be right side of the stage as they slid open behind her. The music died down once again as the spotlight was turned off and the main stage lights turned on, slowly illuminating the scene. Cheerilee could hear herself the place starting while she went down a set of stairs to get underneath the stage. The size of the stage itself was impressive, but the area underneath it was simply amazing. There was plenty of room to install all sorts of devices to spruce up any kind of play, and the stage itself was thick and well isolated enough that ponies could work down there without disturbing the actors on stage. She had once started banging a metal pipe against some of the iron stage supports during a rehearsal, just to see if her students would hear it. They hadn't. She made her way in between the beams supporting the stage and the various props and gadgets they reached down from the stage. Heading from the prompt corner, she finally arrived at the few wooden steps which took her to a level halfway between the stage and the area underneath it, so that only her head peeked up above stage level. From there, she could watch the play from the other side of the audience, without actually being seen by the audience due to the way the prompt corner was built onto the stage. From the audience point of view, it just looks like a slightly raised box. During some plays, a prompt would sit here to feed actors their lines if they forgot them, but the dialogue in this one wasn't overly complicated, and they had never rehearsed with the possibility of a prompt in mind. Cheerilee didn't think any of them would even realize she was there. She tried to pick up the thread of the play, since she had obviously missed some of it on her way there. They seemed slightly further along than Cheerilee had expected, but she didn't know if this was because of them rushing or leaving something out, or if she had just been walking slower than she thought she had been. She looked her head. It didn't matter. The scene wasn't important to her. A grin spread across her face as she sat and watched, and waited for a scene that was. Applebloom slammed her hoof on the table as she dramatically looked first to the left of the table, then to the right. All of this is meaningless. We still have the... Oh. This is all meaningless. We still have to put a stop to this Reginald the Slaw, and I don't care who does it or how. She said, trying her best to suppress her accent. She is most likely the one with the biggest grasp from the script, simply because sticking to her lines made avoiding her accent easier. As soon as she drifted from them even a bit, it was all overall, and the accent was back in full swing. It sounded very odd out of mouth of the king, to be sure. But my king, I maintain that violence is not the answer, Silverspoon said. If you would just let your royal advisor and I work on a diplomatic situation, then I'm sure that... No! The king cut it short. Do you think I know what goes on when I have my back turned? The two of you will stay right here. Sir Lancelot the Brave, I entrust this task to you. Find this villain and bring him back here, so he may face his judgment. She decreed as she leaned forward over the table, pointed her hoof at Scootaloo before banging it on the table again. Just leave it to me. I'll bring him back kicking and screaming. Scootaloo said as she raised a hoof enthusiastically, completely ignoring the script and the lines she should be using. Fortunately, it came down to much the same thing, which was probably the only reason the fillies couldn't hear Cheerilee grinding her teeth all the way out on stage. Scootaloo got up from the table and bowed down before her king before taking a few steps away from the table and turning around. The lights went out for a short moment, and when they returned back, only Scootaloo was still on stage. The king's table was completely deserted, and less fighting was focused on that area than before. In addition to this, Scootaloo was now carrying a white lance around with her, holding it under one of her wings. She started walking across the stage, taking roundabout routes around the same props and pieces of decor. These are the Wildlands, there is no doubt. So where could that weaselly Reginald be? I heard he slides a fox, and sure that there may be. He'll never outwit the likes of me. Speaking thusly, Sir Lancelot came up to a part of the stage that quite obviously represent a mountain with a mine entrance leading into it. The backdrop of the decor served as a mountain, while the shallow mine entrance was more of a little building on stage and expertly made. A small hooded figure suddenly emerged on the scene, wearing black robes. His face was hidden by the hood. Anyone could deduce it was Snips, based on his height and a simple process of elimination. The new arrival casually strolled down the same path Sir Lancelot was currently on, and it wasn't long before they crossed paths in front of the mine itself. Halt! By order of the king, I, Sir Lancelot, have come to put an end to Reginald the Sly. Are you he? Cheerilee said louder than was necessary even during a play. Oh no, noble knight. I am but a simple hermit, living in the mountains yonder. The robed figure replied as he motioned towards the mountains in the distance. Cheerilee scoffed at this and raised her chin. A little thing such as you would indeed not have been much of a challenge. You look like you can hardly stand upright during the gentle summer breeze. Now tell me quick, simple soul. If I wish to find this Reginald, where should I go? You are indeed fortunate, Sir Knight. The villain you seek has his lair in this very cave. The road pony motioned at the mine entrance with a nod of his head. In there? Are you sure of this? The brave knight asked as she peered inside. Of course. Would I lie? You might have to leave your lance behind, though. A lot of narrow passages down there. The filly threw the stranger a few scrutinizing glances, then looked straight at the audience and shrugged. She placed her lance against the rocks outside, and approached the engine. If I don't find him in there, I'll be coming back here to kick your flank. Cheerilee said, again interpreting the script liberally. As soon as she stepped into the darkness, Snips sprang into motion and pulled the rock away to reveal an old-fashioned lever hidden there, not unlike those used to change in direction of train tracks. Hey, it's a dead end here. What are you playing at? Cheerilee's voice came echoing from inside the mine. Upon hearing this, Snips pulled the lever into a neutral position, and once a metal gate slammed shut over the entrance of the mine, Cheerilee's helm had reappeared in the light as she looked at the metal bars in front of her with fake astonishment, shaking them violently with her hooves. What is this trickery? Let me out right this instant, or the justice of King Goldencrown shall come down upon your head, be whomever you may. The hooded pony let out a diabolical laugh as he approached the metal gate, standing next to it as he addressed the knight, so that he may still roughly be facing the audience as well. Be whoever I may. Why, you're thicker than I thought, you righteous fool. It is of course I, Reginald the Sly. Snips announced as he drew back the hood to reveal himself. Did you think I would not expect one of you to come here eventually, or that I would not recognize the great Sir Lancelot, bravest of all the knights in the realm, when she arrived on my doorstep? It is your courage that shall now be your undoing. He continued, followed by more laughter. Sir Lancelot shook the metal gate some more, and tried to lift it up, but she could not. You devil! You heathen! You dishonorable wretch! When I get out of here, it'll be off with your head. Reginald the Sly paused for a moment, as he put both his hooves on the lever once more. Then this is fortunate, he said menacingly, that you'll never get out of there, ever again. He pulled down, and suddenly a great rumbling could be heard throughout the theater as the orchestra kicked in with an impressive display of percussive instruments. Sir Lancelot, much like the audience, recoiled and looked around fearfully, taking a few steps back into the mine, thus disappearing out of sight. There was a loud crash as a cloud of smoke and dust erupted from the mine. Once it cleared out and the music died down, the audience could see the entrance of the cave again, but the opening behind the metal gate was now blocked for what appeared to be a wall of stone and rubble. Snip simply took the lance the knight had left behind between his teeth and walked off, as the stage lights gradually died down and the curtains closed. The audience remained silent for a moment, surprised by the sudden development, but then suddenly started talking amongst themselves about the events of the play so far. The only one who seemed to have anything bad to say about it was Rainbow Dash, who thought it was pure folly to kill off the character of the most talented actor in the group so soon. Cheerilee left her spot in the prompt's corner and went back under the stage. She headed in the direction of the faint banging noise, toward the part directly under the mine. She couldn't believe, smiling at the thought that everything she had worked for all these months were finally about to pay off, and memories of how it had all started involuntarily flooding her mind. Whoa, my peoples of YouTube. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to stop right here for now, but don't you worry, there'll be more of this story. There'll be more of this story once Halloween's Eve has come and gone. And for that, I am the random creepy your Eastern European guy signing off.